Right. I said to myself this year that I really wanted to get through some of these Star Wars stories that have just been sitting around. But then I noticed that I'd been collecting a whole lot, trying to get some stuff done. And one of my goals was to finish collecting the new canon adult hardcovers. And one of those that was very difficult was this book, Tarkin by James Luceno. This was the second novel in the new canon. It was, I don't know, it was planned as an expanded universe novel, but was never really written, or if it was written, it was rewritten for the new canon. So let's take a look at Tarkin by James Luceno. Tarkin is the story of Tarkin and Vader hunting down a rebel cell that steals his ship. That's pretty much it. But it's mixed with Tarkin's backstory. Him growing up on Eriadu, and him becoming a man, and becoming Grand Moff. It's sort of his rise from trying to survive the jungle of Eriadu, and what he is at the end of this book, the leader on constructing the Death Star. So overall, this book is not terrible, but unfortunately, it's not good either. And we'll get into what I liked and what I didn't like about this book. What I liked. Tarkin's backstory is very similar, if not practically the same as it is in other stories of James Luceno's. His backstory does not really change. In fact, it's expanded upon in this. Talks about his childhood, which is probably the best part of the book. His coming of age, how he survives the Carrion Spike, which is very interesting. Tarkin himself is a very compelling character in this. Also, what I liked, which I found weird, was it talked about the dark side in ways that none of the new canon books have talked about at all, which is Palpatine's purpose, what he is going through, his thoughts on things. You don't get that in any of the other books thus far. And that was cool to have. He talks about his master, Darth Plagueis, who is the same as he was in the Darth Plagueis novel, which leads me to believe that if there hadn't been a rough draft submitted to Lucasfilm, there had to have been one written for the expanded universe. It was just retooled to be a new canon novel. Because James Luceno was under contract. Early writers, I want to say the first three, maybe the first four new canon novels were EU titles. And we'll get into it as I review them. But A New Dawn and Tarkin in particular, those two writers, John Jackson Miller and James Luceno, were under contract to write stories. And when the Disney buyout happened, the two of them wrote A New Dawn and Tarkin. Heir of the Jedi is a little different. Heir of the Jedi, I think, was supposed to be written by someone else. It was going to be the third book in a trilogy of expanded universe novels, Honor Among Thieves and Razor's Edge, but got retooled into Heir of the Jedi, which we'll get to next time. But it's interesting, the things that Palpatine's motivations and Tarkin's motivations. Vader's in this, but you don't really get Vader's motivations, and I'm okay with that. We had enough with the two of them, and of course Lords of the Sith by Paul S. Kemp was coming out, so that was about totally them. But in here, it's very interesting. What's not good about this book is the antagonists, the Rebel Cell. They're completely forgettable. You know that Tarkin and Vader are going to get the upper hand of these rebels. And the way they go about it is entertaining, but at the same time, the rebels just keep getting the one-up on the two of them, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I get that it's setting up how they're going to act in the TV show Rebels, but that's really irritating, and doesn't really fit their characters at all. Um, so overall, this book's a 3 out of 5. Just because, granted, the good stuff's really good, but there's just so many glaring flaws in this book. I think if this had been an expanded universe story, and they were allowed, the original drafts had come out completely, this would have been a far superior book, maybe on par with Darth Plagueis. But we've seen James Luceno rise above this again with Catalyst, a Rogue One novel. So overall, it's a passable read. It's probably the best that I've read from that first year of Star Wars content when the Disney buyout happened. So, anyway, join me next time as I review Heir of the Jedi and see what Kevin Hearn has to say about things.